Hey YouTube, I've been thinking about personal monopolies again, and some of you may know that I've had difficulties in the past with the idea that I couldn't move forwards, I couldn't make content, I couldn't do anything until I figured out what my personal monopoly was. And for those who don't know, Personal Monopoly is David Perell's adaptation of the niche idea. And I've come to a place recently where I thought, okay, I can unstick myself by discovering my personal monopoly, by discovering who I am, just by making things. And I made this video and this frame around the archaeologist versus the architect. So you can design up front what your monopoly is, you can choose your niche up front and then go for it. Or you can start digging, essentially, and discover what you find and update your ideas based on what you find. And I've opted more for the archaeologist approach. Now, I'm thinking about how I can actually manage both of these frames at once. So I do see value in niching down to make myself more legible, to more easily share what I have to offer, particularly right now around things like Alexander technique or carbon removal or that kind of thing. My issue has always been I have these things that seem too disparate to contain within a single personal monopoly. But when I look at each one, I start to see that perhaps I am made of, if you like, nested personal monopolies, where the top level personal monopoly is me, is the container for all the things. And then below that, there's the smaller level personal monopolies. And this is quite exciting for me because what I would love to get to is a definition of the top level personal monopoly. This is how all the things in my life come together behind a coherent mission and vision. I'm aiming for this, and all the things I'm doing are part of that narrative. That's really hard to do, and that's what held me back in the first place because I didn't have that. And in the absence of that, I found myself unable to move. But what if the nth order personal monopoly is itself emergent from the lower order niches, personal monopolies, and I can focus on those, grow those, niche down to blow up, as Ali Abdaal says that YouTubers say, and then just work on those things, but pay attention for emergence in the same way. So one of my personal monopolies is Alexander technique. I am an Alexander technique teacher. That's unusual and apparently interesting for people, which is fantastic. I'm really glad that it's a thing people like. But it's not just that. I'm also digitally competent. So I'm active on Twitter and know how to use it. I can make videos. I understand the principles of marketing. I'm just generally savvy in a way that I think many AT teachers are not. I'm not sure why, but just different backgrounds, different generations perhaps, different interests. People who are interested in embodied ways of being tend not to be geeky, techie, internet nerds like I am. And there's a third thing as well, which is an ability, I think, to express clearly for certain audiences the stuff that's going on in me and what Alexander technique means in a way that's accessible. So my background is quite STEM-based and analytical. Studied physics, 10-year career in energy innovation, consulting, corporate, that kind of thing. And I've always been more on the kind of rational end of things than the wooey end of things. So when I come into a discussion around slightly more embodied, esoteric, wooey type things, I still have that frame of, okay, I'm open to whatever's here, and I've got way more wooey at the time, but I still have that background and grounding in, I don't want to say physicalist, but I can talk in a way that people who like facts understand, people who like analysis understand. And that there, I think, is a fairly unusual way of being in the AT world. So couple that with desire for online business versus traditional in-person business, ability to do marketing, all of that stuff is contained within a personal monopoly, which I think narrows me down to one of maybe 5 or 10 people in the world in that domain because it's such a small field. So that's a personal monopoly. And the realization we're having recently is that I can niche down on that. I can create a container for that personal monopoly and not have that define me. So I can architect that bit in the space of archaeology. And over here, as I figure out what my personal monopoly is in carbon removal, which is something around background again in science and understanding how the technology works, but also increasingly the narrative shaping and cultural elements as well, rather than being of the engineering kind. And I think a lot of these things will overlap. So knowing how to be online will be in both of those, for example, how to make online courses, who knows, all these things will come together. But I don't have to force them together at this level. I can build each personal monopoly, whatever else might come up, and then once I've got them, I can look down from above on all of them and think, okay, what are all these things pointing to? So I kind of have my cake and eat it too, in some sense. I do get the benefits of niching down to blow up, of being legible, of creating containers for myself where I can go deep and clear in these things, while also remaining available to serendipities. And that's why, honestly, I've decided that I'm going to create a web presence just around AT, around my personal monopoly, around, I think, the website expandingawareness.org will be a portal, an oasis, I quite like that word from Rob Hardy, to just put all the stuff in there and niche down and go really wonky in there, but not have that be everything. And allow that thing to have a life of its own. And then years from now, think, okay, well, this exists. What else? What does this mean? How can I go higher and higher and higher until I get to that, I don't know, the God value or the highest order manifestation of what I'm about, which I still believe I cannot design. I have to emerge. I have to let emerge. It just is an iterative, slow, unforced process. But going from that shift of find one personal monopoly, letting it emerge. No. There's multiple layers of this thing that will just keep going up until hopefully, maybe not, there'll be some kind of convergence. But we'll see. So yeah, I just wanted to riff on the idea of there being nested personal monopolies and a higher order emergence. And I'm looking forward to playing with it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.